Okay, guys, you may be seated for a minute. Good morning. My name's Sarah. Welcome to C3. I'm one of the worship leaders here, and we are so happy that you guys are here today. I haven't been here in a while, so I'm happy to be back. But anyways, normal stuff. If you guys are new here, we're so happy to see you. And if you're not new here, then usually you can go to the hub and you can check out all the different things that'll be happening coming up. And so the big thing coming up for us is the backpack giveaway for back to school. And that will be on August 14th at the South Point Park at 4 p.m. And so if anybody you know would need to come and get a backpack, or if you want to come help, that is when it will be. And of course, we always need people to come help, and it's always like a really awesome day, and there's always a huge turnout. So that's like the main thing that we have coming up, and we're just going to sing a couple more songs. And if you guys want to get back up and sing them together.
I take each step
worship today together. And I pray that we always know that you're there with us. And through anything that we go through, we can always turn to you. And as we sing this next song, I hope we listen to the words and we always know that. In your name, amen.
Another way when the one Turn right at 500 feet.
Thanks.
Well, that was your exit back there. No, silly, your other left. Maybe stop playing with the radio and drive the car. Are you even listening? I think we're going in circles. Recalculating, 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 recalculating.
All right, well, good morning. Quick question for you guys. Want everyone to we're going to do like a little meditation drill for a second, okay? So I know it's weird. It's your first time here, you're like, what's going on? Just chill for a second. I want you to really think about this question, okay? If I were to sit down with you and it was just us together, and this is a serious question, my question to you this morning would be, what do you want? What do you want? I want you to really think about that. It blows my mind, and I think about this as I'm getting, maybe just because I'm becoming middle-aged and older, and you kind of think more about life, but it's amazing to me. My wife and I will spend months preparing like an awesome vacation, right? We'll spend so much time trying to do different things without ever really stopping saying, what do I want in my life? Where do I want to be? And what I've learned after 44 years of living, and you young kids listen to this because this is helpful, no one else does this for you. Now, your parents try to while you live with them, but once you get out, it's like the world. What do I do? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? So I want you to really think about it. Some of you instantly have an answer. Like, I want to be married. Some of you are like, no, I don't want to be married anymore, right? Some of you are like, I just want kids. And maybe it's some physical things. But I want to go a little deeper today and try to think about, what do you want? What do you really want? Not just on the surface level, what do you really want this morning? And then I want to kind of push you to think about, why do you want what you really want? And I think if we can do that, and I know for a lot of us, we're blue collar, we're hardworking, Midwestern, Bible Belt, tri-state, I get it. I grew up, my dad was a railroader. I get construction, I get it. But I think even for that, even if that's you as a dude today, it's kind of being reminded, what do I really want? What do I want? What do I really want? Now, this is probably the first time Scarface has ever been quoted in a church service, right? And I'm going to go ahead and just warn you, if you've never seen Scarface, don't watch it. Not that it's not an amazing movie, but unless you get it on A&E or something where it's edited, definitely do not watch it with your kids, okay? Because the words they use, many words, many that start with the word F, is about 30,000 times. Right? But there's a scene where they're in a car, and Manny is talking to Tony. And I love this. He says, I say, just be happy with what you got. And Tony says something that's really pretty creative. He says, you be happy. Me, I want what's coming to me. And I want to show you that scene real quick. She says, well, what's coming to you, Tony? And he says, the world, Chico, and everything in it. Right? He's basically like, I want it all. I literally want to be the man. I want to take over. And maybe that's some of you today. You're like, Trent, I just need more. I can't get enough. Well, I want to kind of tell you what's going on. So this is the first week of a new series called Recalculating. And I want to kind of just give you an overview of the series. So we're going to put it up here. And I want to walk through. We're going to be in Luke 15 for 5 weeks. Now, I know that might sound crazy, but we're going to do a really cool story, a parable that Jesus told. But what I think is so interesting about this, and I think it's so helpful for you guys, we've taken this a lot of different angles, and it's an amazing parable. It has so many different meanings. But I read a book this summer, and the book, what really hit me was, the guy said, this is also really everyone's spiritual journey. Every single person really kind of goes through these levels during their spiritual journey. And many of us even sometimes get off course and we go back to a different level and we have to kind of recalculate and get back. Sometimes we go all the way back to the beginning. Sometimes we get so lost from home. And as I was reading, I thought, man, there actually is a lot to this. So kind of tried to develop this. But just so you know, so today we're going to talk about how we recalculate to longing. So for some of you here, there's like, Trent, if I'm honest, if I could just be brutally honest with you, I honestly feel like there's got to be more to my life. I mean, there's got to be more than just what I'm doing day in and day out. So we're going to learn how do we recalculate to and from that longing. The second week, next week, we're going to talk about how to recalculate to and from regret. This idea of, I just wish I could start over. I wish I would have never married him. I wish I would have never started dating her. I wish I should have never taken this job. Wish I wouldn't have left that job. Whatever that is, I wish I could start over. And then we get to how to recalculate to help, where we all realize I can't do this on my own. And neither can you. And some of you right now are killing yourselves because you think you need to do this on your own. And then recalculate to love, where we learn God actually loves you way more than you ever realize, more than you can ever imagine. And then the final one, we'll recalculate to life and learn what does it mean to really live, as we kick off a series right after that called Epic Life. Okay, so I know you're like, dude, I'm already bored. Fair enough. Okay, but I just wanted to kind of tell you where we're heading for the next 5 weeks, building into a series I can't wait for. So here's what we're going to talk about. How do we find the more we're looking for? How do we find the more that we're looking for? So we're just going to look at literally 3 verses today, the very beginning of the story. Luke 15, verse 11, it says this. It says, to illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, this younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. There he wasted all his money in wild living. Okay, so you can picture that. And it says, about the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. So this morning, kind of quickly, I want to share with you this concept that we all have longings. And I truly believe there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's kind of how God wired all of us. God didn't wire us as these like static creatures, right? The Greeks believed, and they have a term for this, but it basically was like targets. The Greeks believed every human had to have a target. They had to have a mission. Well, I kind of agree with them in a different light, but I believe God's created us for a purpose, on purpose, for a purpose, because he loves you so much. So we have longings, and when our longings in our life don't match up, we kind of find this despair where it's just like, man, there's got to be more than this. And if that's you this morning, you're watching online, you're like, man, I just like, there's got to be more than where I'm currently at in my life. I've got good news for you. God's like, exactly, because I've wired you that way. I've wired you to long for something more. But I think we get it twisted and we misdirect it, and that's kind of the problem today. So what I want to do is talk about what you really want. I'm going to make a case today that after you take, I want to be married. No, I wish I wasn't married. Yes, I wish I had kids. I wish I had a different job. Down the line, whatever you thought of, whatever situation, just wish my kids could finally get healthy. Wish my kids could finally get straight. I wish that, my kids would talk to me again. I mean, just whatever this is. I'm going to argue that under that, there's some principles that we never think about. We don't. So I want you to think about this concept of what do you really want? And I'm going to argue how maybe sometimes what we really want is misguided, and because of that, it gets us in a place we don't want to be. So what's the real answer? I'll give you 3 real quick, okay, from the story. I think so powerful. The first real answer is this: I want it now. So I don't know what you want, but I can promise you this, because I bet you're just like me. I don't know what you want. I don't know what it is, but I can promise you want it now, right? No, Trent, I don't want to wait. I don't wait. I want it now. My wife and I, we live in our neighborhood in Ironton. About 3 blocks over, there's an older couple, and their grandson comes over. So he's maybe in his 20s. When he was born, he had some heart problems and like a birth defect. So he's had a pacemaker. He has probably 3 surgeries a year, which has just done so much to his body. So obviously there's some motor issues. But what I love is this boy, actually a young man, but he comes over our house all the time. I mean, if I know when he's there, because if I'm watching TV, he knocks on the door and he keeps knocking. If he sees car, he just keeps knocking, right? But what I've also noticed is if he gets there and knocks and no one answers, and I love this. This is called persistence. He just sits literally on our front porch because he knows somebody's coming home, right? And what I love is as soon as we get home or as soon as we answer the door, he just walks in. Hey, what's going on? But my favorite thing about him, he walks through my house like RoboCop. He's just scanning stuff. And he always finds something. And he's like, can I have that? I'm like, no. I literally say this, I'm like, no, I'm not giving you. Just the other day, he had his eyes on our old Xbox. And he said, Tayden, and he said, do you play that? Not anymore. He looked right at me. Can I have it then? And I was like, well, let me talk to my wife. She's the boss. I'm not the boss, man. Got to talk to her. I'm giving him that spiel. And he was like, I was like, when do you think you need it? You know what he says? Every time he wants anything, something he just saw for the first time. He literally walked through my garage one day randomly and found a BB gun. He's like, I got to have this. I'm like, you just found it, man. You can't just got to have it. And he was like, no, I need it now. Right? So this other day, he's going on about the Xbox. He's all tore up because mom said he doesn't need it. He knows he needs it, right? So he's like, I just got to have it. He's getting real worked up. And I said, listen to me. I said, do you ever notice that you just want something and you want it right now? And the second I said it, I thought, and so do you, Trent. And so does everyone else we know, right? Is it not true? We all look at the kid in the store losing his mind because he's 5 or 6, and we're like, whoa, my kids never acted that way. That's the best part. My kids are grown now. I get to make up all these lies that my kids did when they were your age that it's not true at all, right? My kids would sit in the church service 4 hours. They wouldn't say a peep. Yeah, no, my kids are all over the place, just like many of yours. But you watch that kid, they're losing their mind. You're like, gosh, it's just so immature. But it's us, right? No, God, I want it, and I want it now. Look at verse 12. The younger son told his father, get this, I want my share of your estate now. I want it now. Now, in this culture, basically what this boy was saying, and some of you heard this before if you know the story, but he's basically his dad saying, I can't wait for you to die, so I want you to give me what's coming to me. The world and all that's in it, Chico, give it to me now. I want it all. I want all of my estate right now. I can't wait for you to die. I don't want to be with you anymore. And in that story, when Jesus told that, people were like, oh, terrible kid. That's the kid literally throwing a fit in the store. Oh, he's awful. We hate him. Oh, never. And they all in their mind, they've already built it up. Yeah, this is what we love about the story, because the father's going to be just, and he's going to say, no, and you're a terrible kid, and we're writing you off. And then he says the next part, and the crowd literally probably would have gasped. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. See, the first part I know about you, what you really want is whatever it is, you want it now. The problem with that is if you get what you want, it may not be what you really want later. You know that? You know how I know this? Like I told you, I'm 44 years old. I went to one high school reunion in my life. I've only been to one. I think it was my 10, maybe. It's either a 10 or a 15. But you know what I learned? I don't know why I don't go back, because I actually find high school reunions fascinating. One, you see older people act like they're 18 again, which is really bizarre. But here's my favorite part. You sit and start looking at people that in school you were like, oh, if I could just date her. Oh my gosh, she is so hot. Guess what? She is so not now, right? You're like, and I honestly caught myself thinking, like, there's one lady, I was like, man, she was so sweet at school. No one ever paid attention to her. And we got in the car, and my wife was like, she's gorgeous. I thought, isn't that crazy? Like, she was like a bookworm. No one even paid any attention to her. I was like, she's now super smart, super nice, and she's a model, right? Miss Chance. I bet there's a lot of single guys in there like, blew that one. And that's what I say to you. A family or a high school reunion to me, and like many of you, is you start looking, and it's a lot of life when you look back and you're like, God, I'm actually thankful you didn't give that to me when I wanted it. Because that would have been a train wreck, right? All of us have that. We have that girl that you're looking at your parents like, no, I promise you, Mom, Dad, she's the one, she's perfect. And your parents are like, she ain't perfect, boy, right? Because they know. And I say it to you guys because we want it now, but we learn what we want now may not be what we really want later. And your Father knows that because He loves you. So that's the first one. We'll go pick up pace a little bit. The real answer, number 2, is I want to do what I want to do. See, what else I know about you, whatever your thing is, I know it's this. I know it involves you getting to do what you want to do. Because again, we're all 8-year-olds at heart, and I'm included, right? I want you to give me what I want now so I can do what I want to do, because life at the end of the day is all about me and my happiness and what I get and making sure that I'm always, every need's fulfilled. None of that's bad, but if that becomes my guiding aim, that's a pretty empty life. Look what it says. Verse 13, a few days later, this younger son packed all of his belongings and he moved to a distant land. Dad, I got to get away from all of you guys. Why? So I can do what I want to do. You see, at the end of the day, what I really want, I want whatever it is now. And 2, I want to do exactly what I want to do. I'll show you a picture. I told my wife this yesterday, and she literally started crying. So this is pretty sad. She also just sent her boy off to college, and she's an emotional mess anyway, so I don't know what's up and down right now, okay? Hey, you want pizza tonight? Oh, you're crying. Okay, fair enough. Get it. Didn't know you were going to cry about that. But I want to show you, this is Glenn Wolfe. Let me give you a few facts about Glenn. Okay, he passed away in 1997, a month after I graduated high school. This is his wife. He was a Baptist minister. But the reason there's a picture of him, and you can find a lot of them online, is because he holds the Guinness Book of World Records for marriages. He was married 29 times. Think about that. 29 times he was married. Divorced, married. Divorced, married. 29. I mean, Hollywood stars have nothing. People, are like, they're always getting divorced and married, and literally all that. So what's the problem with I want to do what I want to do? If I do what I want to do, then I'll probably end up where I don't want to be. Sure, if we could talk to Glenn when he was alive, and he's like, I just want someone to love me unconditionally. I just want to have a great home. Well, when he passed away in 1997, this was the article in the LA Times. Most married, but little missed. One kid showed up at his funeral. And the story goes on to say, I think they basically had to beg him. Now think about that. The guy who focused so much on the relationships and wanted it so bad was the one guy who kept getting in his own way. What he wanted to do, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get married again. It's going to work. It's going to end up actually putting him where he didn't want to be. Okay, so what do I know that you want? Whatever the topic or the object or the idea is, and it's different for all of us in here, but I know this. I know whatever that is, you want it right now because you don't want to wait. And two, you want it so you can do what you want to do, because if you can just do what you want to do, then you'll be happy. Right? We're about to learn with this guy in the last part, though. The real answer is the third one. And although it sounds the same, it's very different. I want to get my way. You see, at the end of the day, my frustration with God is He's not giving me my way. You see, at the end of the day, the reason my wife and I get into arguments and fights is because, why? I'm not getting my way. And my way is always what? Everybody repeat with me. My way is always the best way, the right way, the only way, right? Everyone else is just stupid. They can't see how unclear all this path is. So I want to get my way. Look at verse 13 to 14. It says, there he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. You see, all these things he thought would be so great at the end, I want it now. I want to do what I want to do, and I want to get my way. I'm going to live the way I want to live, my way. And at the end, he's basically homeless and starving. The problem, if I get my way, I often get in my own way. Now, my wife is a middle school English reading teacher. ESC, I don't know. ESL, I don't know. She has all these terms. I don't know what they mean. I don't even listen. But I know she teaches reading is one. And she'll come home, and here's the worst part about being married to a middle school reading teacher. She'll come home, and if they read a story that she likes, she has to tell me the whole story. So I've learned to lie. You know what? We were reading the Monkey's Paw today. Read it. Don't tell me that. I know Monkey's Paw, right? But I remember she was talking about the Monkey's Paw. She was like, this is such a profound story. She was like, I don't know why people haven't made she said, you can make a TV show. I'm going to give you guys $1 million idea right now if you want to take it. She said, think about the TV show where this Monkey's Paw just keeps transferring to different people. If you don't know the story about the Monkey's Paw, just really simple. It's basically this guy comes and he's like, hey, this thing gives you 3 wishes, anything you want, but don't take it. Because what you want ends up costing you more than you ever thought. And the family's like, no, we're struggling with money. So they take it, and they literally say, no, if you can just give us 200 pounds, which is, I guess, English measurement, a lot of money, I don't know, 200 pounds. Next day, they find out their son was killed at the factory. Like, that's not what we wanted. And then someone walks in the house, and they're like, here's your check, though, for him being killed on the job, 200 pounds. And they instantly realize, this is not what we wanted. And I do think as you kind of think back to that story, you're like, that's kind of us, though. We all think we know what we want, and if we just get what we want, man, everything would be good. But then when we step back, we're like, wait a minute, I don't know if me getting everything I want is really the best plan. Paul talked about this in Romans. He says this in chapter 7. He said, I don't really understand myself. For what I want to do, what is right, but I don't do it. You see, some of you here today, depending on where you would be on the Enneagram, whatever, this should be your life verse. Ready for this? I don't really understand myself. Is it not true? I don't get it. I sabotage myself. I do things I know are not healthy for me. I don't get what I do. I know what's right, but I'm not doing it. Instead, I'm doing stuff afterwards that I feel miserable about. So he talks on about this flesh, and we talked last week, this mental kind of subject of how we operate, right? Paul said, I'm struggling because I can't figure this out, which gives me this whole concept of, if you don't get anything else, seeking more may thrill, but it'll never fill. Seeking more, it may thrill, and it may be shiny, and it may be exciting, but it will never truly fill. This is what this guy learned in this part of the story. Lawrence County Fair, you guys know I love the fair, just came out of it, love it, can't get enough of it. Camper life at Laco, I'm telling you, better than Beverly Hills. And I'll tell you guys this, though, and this is really important that you make sure you understand. I remember a few years back that my sister-in-law wanted me to watch their kids. I don't remember why I needed to watch the kids. I don't know why my wife couldn't do it. But I remember she said, here's your nephews. Watch them. Don't let them die. Don't let them get lost. And here's like literally $180. Right? So I was like, it was money for them to, I guess, eat all day because she's gone all day. So you know what I did with those kids? I looked at these two little boys and said, what do you want to eat? You know what they said? Cotton candy. You know what I said? Sounds great. Right? I'm on your mom's dime. I don't care what we do. Cotton candy it is. Got them both one, eating it. We get back, they're walking around like, hey, it's about time for lunch. What do you guys want to eat? I like cotton candy. Sounds great to me. Pay it out, right? Now you get to dinner, and it's like, hey, I noticed we've only drank literally pop and sodas, and we've had cotton candy. Probably should pick it up a little bit. What do you guys want? We want cotton candy. I can't argue with that, so we did it, right? And here's the crazy part. At the end of the day, you know what's fascinating to me? Now, I might have stretched the story just a little bit, but you know what's fascinating to me? They were starving, they weren't full, and they were sick. Now think about that for a second. Turns out you can't eat cotton candy every meal all day long and feel good. Now, as dumb as that is, I know you guys are like, really, Trent? But think about this. We're the exact same way. We're trying to fill ourselves up with cotton candy day in and day out, and then we look at someone with literally the blue stains all over our mouth, and we're like, I don't feel good. I don't like where my life's at. I feel sick. I don't feel full. Right? This is kind of what Paul's saying. He's like, I don't get this. And what I love is just one chapter later in Romans 8:15. He's going to talk about how the Spirit, okay, you go chasing things, doing things your way, I'm telling you, it's probably not going to work out. But he's like, hey, that's the beauty of the gospel is God gives you his Spirit to live in you, to guide you. He says, so you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. It's not rules and a hard master. Look what he says. He says, instead, you've received God's Spirit when he adopted you as his own children. Now we call him Abba, Father. Abba, in this translation, the best translation would be Daddy. So he's basically like, you know what the gospel is? We get to literally look at the God of the universe, and we get to call him Daddy. Now, I grew up, my wife's not in the service, I'm going to tell you guys real quick, okay? My wife, it blows my mind. Her and our kids, and I know some of you in this room do it, I'm not making fun of you. I am actually a little bit. I'm going to take it back. She, with her parents, they call them mommy and daddy. Now, I get it. That's their parents. They love them. I'm all for it. But they say it with like a touch of like a British accent. It's like, well, her sister will be like, well, mommy said. I'm like, what did mommy say? Right? I'm like, I get calling my, hey, dad, hey, mom. Okay, but it's like, mommy, daddy, mommy. That was so weird, right? And I kind of don't like this verse in a way, but that's what it's saying. It's like, it's not dad. Dad's like, yeah, it's my dad. It's like literally a little kid, like, Daddy. Like, you're my world. Daddy. The one who I know always takes care of me. The one that loves me unconditional. Daddy. That's the word. Jesus, when he prayed, he said he would literally, that's why religious people hate him. They're like, you're talking about God like he's a father, like he's a daddy. And Jesus is like, because he is. That's the relationship I have with him. Daddy. See, that's the game changer. It's like when you can go seeking all this stuff, but there's holes in your life that cotton candy will never fill. And that's what you got to learn. There's this kind of void that only God really can take care of. So I want to give you just a thought today, okay? How many of you are parents in here? Okay. I like it. Some of you will not raise your hand. I know you're parents. You're stupid. Stupid. I'm going to ask you a question. And I thought long and hard about this. And you can answer it out loud if you want. I'm going to put it on the screen. But I got to warn you, it's a trick question. What does every, I was going to say good parent, I'm going to switch it. What does every great parent, we're talking like the best of the best. What does every great parent want from their kids? What does every exceptional, top-notch, you think about your parent, and I'm sure most of you in here are trying to be great parents. What does every great parent want from their kids? What do you want? My wife is, one of the things that she does is she will watch Friday Night Lights on Netflix on a continuous basis. I think she's watched it through 12 times now. It's bizarre to me. I'm like, literally, she's like, you can watch something else if you want. What do you want to watch? I don't really have anything good. Friday Night Lights it is. Right? She just watches it. But there's a scene like season 2 or 3 where they have a new quarterback and his dad is over the top. I mean, he's just like all about his boy and all that. And I'm sure many of us can relate, or we've maybe been guilty of something like that. But here's what I thought. When you watch it from a distance and you see a parent who's literally like living through their kids, or they're all about their kids, but it's almost like you're living this for yourself. It's kind of gross, isn't it? Kind of makes us all go, I don't like that. So let me go back to the question. What does a good parent or a great parent want from their kids? No, the answer is nothing. Great parents don't want anything from their kids. I know this, and I know this is true about all of you. As a decent parent, I'll call myself decent maybe, mediocre. I want something for my kids at all times. I always want something for my kids, not from them. You mean to tell me you'll feed them, you'll clothe them, you'll take care of them. If they come back and need something, you'll give them money. And even if they don't give you the time of day, you're telling me you can raise a little baby and all they do is want something from you and they never give you anything back? Yes, because they're my kids. Daddy, Mama. See, Jesus came on the scene and said this, and it blew their minds. Now, Monday, if you're here last week, talking about my son, he was leaving Friday for college and football camp. And of course, my wife's been a mess. My daughter went on vacation this past week. She was at the beach. So, that's kind of planned. And my wife's kind of getting ready. We're going to drive to West Virginia, 3.5 hours away on Friday morning. We're going to drop him off. She's kind of gearing herself up for that. Well, Monday, she has to pick up her parents in Ohio State at the medical center and has to bring them home. So she's on her way home and she's waiting for them. And I'm literally looking at my phone and I get a link from WSAZ for my son. And right below it, he just put, oh boy. That's it. Oh boy. And we heard some rumors, murmuring, whatever, but kind of knew. So I click on it and it's like the school, the college. This isn't some made up thing. The college my son was going to shut down. Just that day. They literally like school, athletics, everything's done. So he texts me and I read the article. I'm like, okay, well, this is 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock on Monday. So I come home and he was working out or something and said, we meet at home. So we get home and the reason I tell you this, because this is the dad moment, okay? So he sat down and I was like, there's not going to be any football. All this paperwork we've done for 3 months is gone. And I said, what do you want to do? And you can tell his head's spinning. I mean, he's just, and I said, I'll make it simple for you. Do you want to maybe take a semester or a year off and just maybe go to OU Southern, Shawnee with your city? It's just like, but football probably is out of the question anyways. Or do you want to try, it's a long shot because everybody started practice already, do you want to try to play somewhere? And he looked at me and he didn't even think about it. He was like, I'd like to still play. I said, okay. then we're going to work from there. And we did. And it ended up very fortunate. Called some coaches. They re-offered him, able to go to a different school. Reported Thursday. Great story. So thankful. But here's my point of that. That whole time, I promise you one thing. I didn't want one thing from him. I didn't. I wasn't like, well, as long as he does what I want, I'm going to be happy with him. I literally looked at my 19-year-old son and said, what do you want? And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm praying for you because I just want what's best for you. You see, this is the beauty of the gospel. In the Old Testament, this image of God, everybody's like, man, he's a harsh God. He's a powerful. He is. He's a very powerful God. But Jesus comes on scene. He's like, no, he's daddy. What? No, he is. You see, they make God like a religion. And when God's a religion, it means if I do good, he's happy with me. If I do bad, he's not happy with me. And I got to keep jumping through hoops. And Jesus said, that's not how a good dad works. And your Father in heaven is a great dad. So much so that in John 3:16 it says, for God so loved the world that he demanded. For God so tolerated us. No. God so loved the world that he gave his most valuable possession because he loved us. See, a great father always wants what's best for his kids. If you don't get anything else this morning, get this. That's how God feels about you. It's not that he's wanting you to jump through hoops. It's not that he's upset because when you take a wrong turn, and parents, you know this, when your kid's doing something, you're like, that's not a good move, right? Your love for them doesn't change. You just get heartbroken because you know how it's probably going to end up. This father watched his son leave, and he's heartbroken. Not because he didn't love him anymore. He's heartbroken because he knew this isn't the best way forward. Seeking more may thrill, but it'll never fill. So we've got to learn what it really means to long for what matters. And that's literally the God of the universe with open arms saying, I just want you to come back to me. I want to fill you with my spirit. I want you to come home. You are welcome here. Can I say this, you guys, this morning? C3, you are welcome here as this body of believers comes together. If you walk out and see a sign that says, we are for the tri-state, right? We don't want anything, and I mean that. We don't want anything from the tri-state, from Ohio, from Kentucky, West Virginia. We want to be for people. You know why? Because Jesus was for people. He was. I know the good people, Trent. No, he was for people. I know, but people who believe like, no. He was for people. That's who we are. We're people who love others unconditionally. Why? Because that's what our Father does for us. So here's what I want to challenge you to do today, okay? We're just going to pray for just a second. If you would just close your eyes, all of us together. Here's our prayer. I want all of you to really, truly just take a moment and pray this prayer with me. God, and maybe for some of you here, you have been just struggling with this nagging question of, God, there's got to be more. God, there has to be more to this life than what I'm experiencing. And you're longing for something more. And the good news I have for you this morning is that God says, that's good. That's actually really good. Because that longing is a constant reminder that no matter what it is, even if you get it now, even if it allows you to do what you want, and even if it allows you to get your own way, you will not be fulfilled. You won't be fulfilled until you turn around and come back and accept how much your Father truly loves you and what it means for Him to live through you. That's it. So today what I want to do is I just want to pray. I want to pray for some of you who are truly struggling. Man, life just has not added up for you. Life's not working right now. And I want to pray for you that you would see that you can go your own way. But I promise you have a loving Father that's there waiting for you every single second. Every second. So if you're struggling today, if you're maybe trying to find your way or find your place, maybe you've been searching in a lot of different ways and none of that seems to work, I just want to pray for you. If that's you, if you would just lift your hand. Sure, I'm struggling, searching. I felt, thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else? Like, man, just this nagging feeling like there's got to be more. And the good news this morning as we pray is God says, I am the more. It's me. And until you get that right, you'll constantly be searching. Those of us who's even experienced this, what do? Sometimes we redirect and we go back and we get misguided and we start chasing more and more things, only to find out they never do it. Why? Because they may thrill, but they never fill. Just like cotton candy. So as we get ready to say amen today, before we do that, I want to ask you also, if today's maybe the day that you're going to literally just take one step back home. One step back towards your Father to find life in Him. And you can do that maybe by saying a prayer something like this. Jesus, I know I've messed up. I know I've went my own way. I know I've sinned. I know I've made a mess of things. Here's your prayer. But Jesus, I'm asking you this morning to save me. Forgive me. Give me new life in you. Before we leave today, before we say amen, if you did that this morning, I want you to do something really bold. I'm not making you stand up. You don't have to come forward. If you just lift your hand and say, you're watching online, literally, you can type in the comments, reach out to us, email us. But if that's you this morning, if you would just lift your hand and say, Trent, today's the day. I crossed over. Today's the day I asked Jesus to forgive me for the first time in my life. That's you. Just put your hand in the air. We just want to celebrate that. Hold up for just a second. Awesome. Awesome. Jesus, so thankful for the lives you continue to change. So thankful for what you're doing. Pray today, now, as we walk out of here, that we would long for what matters. That we would have a longing for the things that will truly fulfill us. Whether we're 8 or 88, it all centers around you. We ask these things in your name, and amen. Guys, have a great and amazing week. We will see you next week for week 2 of Recalculate. Take care.
Set us free.